It's 2200 hours in Banjul, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is the news and our top stories this evening. Health Minister Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate updates the public on the COVID-19 situation in the Gambia and the outbreak of an infectious disease in Senegal. Residents of Kiang in the Lower River region prepare for the offshoot of the first ever electricity-generated light. Information Minister Ibrahim Silla updates the public on key sectoral development projects, including the Health Ministry's National Health Insurance Scheme. The Gambia books a place in Sunday's Wafu Cup finals after defeating Guinea 2-1 at the Stade La Dior in Senegal. Prime Minister Ahmed Abai announces a final offensive integrate to capture the regional capital, Mashere. And in Zimbabwe, search and rescue operations are underway for around 40 miners trapped underground at a mine in Bundura town. These and much more coming ahead in the news with me by Ibrahim Cham. Many thanks for joining us. Have you with us. Let's begin this bulletin with this press release from the Office of the President, which states that informing the public that His Excellency President Adama Barrow will leave Banjul tomorrow, Saturday, 28th November 2020 at 12 noon to attend the inauguration ceremony of the electricity expansion project in Kiang, Quenala. President Barrow will switch on the first ever electricity generated light for mass consumption in the history of Kiang. The historic lightning is part of Phase 1 of the electricity expansion project anchored on the 2017 National Electricity Roadmap. The release concludes. Moving on, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate, has provided a report on the COVID-19 situation in the Gambia and strategies taken to combat the disease. Here's an excerpt.
He has reported the first number of cases since July, a downward trend we are hoping to see continue, even though we continue to scale up our testing efforts. The past few days has seen a small increase in the number of cases compared to the last few weeks. This we are monitoring very closely, and we remind everyone that there is no room for complacency, even though the number of positive cases is small. Coordination meetings are ongoing at both the strategic and technical levels. Sample collection is being scaled up to be done in all the health facilities in the Gambia, both the public and private. Despite some improvement on the national figures, the public should remain vigilant. Now that all non-essential public places are opened, the public should be reminded that the public health protection regulations remain in place.
The ministry has received information from Senegalese health authorities that more than 500 fishermen in Senegal have skin manifestations recently after returning from deep sea. Let's take a listen.
Dermatitis associated with some infectious diseases. The lesions appear on the face, extremities, and the genitals with associated headache and fever. We have been very vigilant. The relevant units had series of meetings to assess the situation, are in touch with the Senegalese authorities for any further developments. Following the guidelines, our public health officials intercepted 2 Gambian fishermen returning from Senegal 2 days ago at the Amdalai border post with similar symptoms. The 2 are currently at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, where they are receiving medical attention. Meanwhile, the ministry appeals to the general public to visit authorized facilities for their health service provision and also be vigilant in observing any of the signs and symptoms mentioned. These are
Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate there giving updates on the outbreak of an infectious disease in Senegal. Moving on, after decades of persisting livelihood challenges due to lack of basic social amenities, the people of Kiang are finally enjoying electricity supply thanks to the borough administration. Ibrahim Ajala tells us more.
Have begun to enjoy their own share of the national psychic after what they describe as over 50 years of isolation and suffering during the past two governments. The borough administration has now brought them a major electricity project, which is in two phases. The first phase has already been completed, with 14 communities already connected to the national grid. This is said to be a dream come true for the people of Kiang, as electricity supply is now a reality and not a mere promise.
The project is in fact completed. As it is, there is power in houses of people, and people are on power in Quinala and most of these Kiang villages in Kiang. In fact, there are 14 villages in Kiang that we charge. Actually, there are 11, but 14 transformers, because in some villages there are 2 transformers. That includes Quinala, where we have 2 transformers.
The chief of Kiang Central, Demba Sanyang, described the development as unprecedented.
This electrification project in this country is very crucial, very important to the people of the area, of the community. It's so important to the extent that it's unbelievable, because without electricity has set our development back in all forms. We need things like factories. You need refrigerators in your houses. You need everything what is connected with electricity. We are neglected with all this during the past 50 years, since from the First Republic to date. Until recently, when Adama Barrow came to power, he promised us that he's going to bring power here, which he did. He has fulfilled his promise. We are so grateful to him.
Samba Jai is a businessman in Quinala. His shop has now been connected to the grid. For him, the electricity supply has a far-reaching socio-economic benefits.
The electricity benefits us a lot. We have been yearning for it for quite a long time. We pray for continuous progress.
The sign of relief is virtually visible in the faces of residents in communities of Kiang, including the youth and women folk.
Before the coming of electricity in the area, we used to suffer a lot, but now we are relieved of those challenges.
Meanwhile, preparations are in full swing for the launch of the Kiang electrification project on Saturday, to be presided by President Adama Barrow. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
Well, earlier on, GRTS spoke to Pierre Silva, the Public Relations Officer of NAWEC, about Saturday's groundbreaking inauguration and the significance of the infrastructural development project for the people of Kiang. Here's an excerpt. What it's all about.
Thank you very much. The Indian project is a project that has been given to the Gambia government, and NAWEC being the beneficiary institution, to do an expansion of electricity to the greater Banjul areas and beyond. So Kiang is one of those areas that are benefiting from the project. It's a $22.5 million project. And in Kiang, we are doing a lot of job. We are almost completed, which is why the president will be presiding over the inauguration of that part of the project in Kiang. Apart from Kiang, we have up to about 35 to 40 other villages in the greater Banjul area, most of them in the combos. And that project, those areas, the implementation of the project is still ongoing. We do anticipate that by the end of December, going to the early part of the next year, the entire project will be completed in the other part. But Kiang, we've already completed, and this is why we are doing the inauguration for Kiang on Saturday.
How far can this project actually go within the region? Will it only supply electricity to Kiang, or will it go to other places within that region? And what impact should we actually anticipate from this project?
Actually, the project is going to benefit those villages in Kiang that have been electrified. You would know that it's not the entire Kiang that is being electrified under the first phase, but the second phase is coming maybe by December towards January. We'll be able to source out some other additional funding from the same project and then we'll go to the Kiang eastern part to make sure that those villages that are not part of the fourth project or the fourth phase will be electrified. It is not like we are doing the extension of the generation, but it is the extension of the grid, meaning it's the transmission and distribution network that we have extended to those parts that are part of the Kiang project or the Indian project. And it is going to go a long way in trying to increase the economic activities of the people who live in Kiang. You would know that Kiankers have never benefited from any electricity project since the Gambia started. And by so doing, I think with this project, they will be able to do a lot of things. The businesses would boom, the fishing business, women and men would be able to refrigerate whatever produce they get from the sea, the internet services, the shops, etc., etc. It's going to also enable people who are engaged in agriculture to be able to do some of their agriculture and keep their produces somewhere where they can always use them to sell. As I said, it is not only Kiang who is going to benefit, but some other parts are going to benefit from the greater Banjul area. But in Kiang, as we speak, we electrified about 14 villages. And these villages are Nyoro, the Nyoro Jatabas, the Sankanding, the Quinella, 1 and 2, Dumbuto, Tendaba, Urokang, Bajana, Quinella, Wudeba, the forestry department, and the agricultural stations there. So as I said, we are looking forward to get additional funds to able to for us to get to other villages in the Kiang, especially the eastern part of Kiang.
Thank you very much for your time here on GRTS Pierre Silva.
Thank you.
India. We are staying with infrastructural development projects because the people of Kiang are still set for the launching of a mega electricity project connecting several communities in the area. The Kiang electrification project is the first of its kind in the area since independence. Ibrahim Ajalo recently gauged the reactions of residents who have been rejoicing over the infrastructural development, but still want government to provide motorable roads to link them to service facilities and markets.
Spotlight, development is gradually coming to the area. People here felt being isolated for decades. Now there is electricity in Kiang thanks to the new government under President Adama Barrow. However, Kiang is calling for more development. Road networks connecting communities to the Trans-Gambia Highway are in deplorable state and are said to be a major challenge in the movement of people, goods and services.
The road conditions are appalling, to be honest with you. All we need is to rehabilitate those roads for us so that we can be equal. When you say Kabada, you say Kiang Central, Kabada, Mandinkala, and Fulala. So they need those things. Not those, they need more amenities.
Women are mostly the victims of poor road infrastructure, owing to their struggle to access healthcare facilities for maternal care.
Vehicles get stuck here during the rainy season. All these are part of our challenges. We also need gardens and adequate water supply. Our roads are bad, so people suffer a lot because sometimes no vehicle ply the road. We thank President Barrow. He tried a lot for us. We suffered for so long, but thank God, at least we have electricity now.
The people of Kiang are predominantly farmers, who depend mainly on their harvest for income. The weekly open market, locally known as Lumo, is the point of sale for them. However, transporting their produce to the market could be a nightmare if the roads are not motorable. Ibrahim Ajalo, GRTS News.
Moving on, Friday's Inter-ministerial press conference by the Information Minister began with a presentation on the Health Ministry's National Health Insurance Scheme bill that was recently tabled before lawmakers at Parliament. The Minister said the National Health Insurance Scheme is intended to reduce the burden of out-of-pocket expenditure by patients and to protect households from high spending on medical bills. Now, Minister Silla also spoke about other sectorial interventions, but by other ministries. Fatah Ilika Malushi tells us more.
In ensuring that citizens have access to effective health care within the health delivery system,
The bill establishes a National Health Insurance Authority to implement a health insurance scheme with a fund which will pay for the cost of healthcare services of the members of the scheme, and provisions are made as well for a private health insurance scheme.
Persons under 5 years of age, pensioners, categories of persons living with disability, persons with mental illness, persons above the age of 65, persons in need of antenatal delivery and postnatal healthcare services are exempted from payment of contributions under the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Moving on to the information and communication infrastructure, the minister reveals that efforts to repeal the last set of prohibitive legacy laws enacted by the former government, specifically targeting the media and media practitioners, has gained pace as the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure tables before the National Assembly the Information and Communications Amendment Bill 2020 for consideration and enactment after an exhaustive consultative process.
The Information Communication Amendment Bill, currently before the National Assembly, is meant to further strengthen Gambia's democracy, as it will support the domestication of international laws by repealing provisions that are inconsistent with international standards, thereby enhancing the Gambia's conformity to international standards, treaties, and conventions to which it is signatory to.
The minister also presented on recent moves undertaken by the Youth and Sports Ministry, which has seen the laying of foundation stone for the construction of 2 mini stadiums in Kafuta in the West Coast region and Fulabantang in the Central River region. The construction of both mini stadiums, which cost $14.7 million, is entirely funded by the government of the Gambia. The project, he says, also targets the hiring of young people as contract employees for the construction works, with the hope that the infrastructure will contribute immensely to the transformation of sports. More on infrastructural initiatives, the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, in partnership with relevant stakeholders in the transport sector, has started a road safety survey as part of efforts to improve road safety standards and to minimize accidents on the roads, targeting different categories of road users such as commercial drivers, private drivers, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and cyclists on the importance of observing road safety rules and related matters. The program, the minister says, is part of the road safety policy of the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, which is embedded in the National Transport Policy 2018 to 2027. The Information Minister concludes the weekly briefing with the update from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, which has, through the Directorate of Development Planning, conducted a nationwide sensitization and consultation tour to discuss the voluntary national review of the Sustainable Development Goals and the impact of COVID-19 on the Gambian economy.
As part of the consultations, discussions were conducted on the midterm evaluation of the National Development Plan, the NDP, which is geared towards establishing a degree of fulfillment of strategic priorities and critical enablers, examining the financing of the NDP to date, detailing associated weaknesses and opportunities adopted to resource mobilization approaches.
The aim of the weekly briefing is to keep the populace abreast with the development strides undertaken by government ministries. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Fatih Elika Mulushi.
Over now to some legislative matters, where the National Assembly is continuing its debates on the 2021 estimates of revenue and expenditure. Fatu Janimbai has more on Friday's session.
The debate on the 2021 budget estimates continue at the National Assembly on Friday. The legislative exercise was looking at the allocation for the Ministry of Defense. Among the key recommendations include rent and rates, travel expenses, armed forces operations and allowances.
The first recommendation they made was on rent and rates. A sum of $4 million be allocated to the Ministry of Defense for the obligatory payment of rents to CORA in accordance with the terms and conditions of service of GAF officers, Regulations 1993, Part 9. Number 2 recommendation, travel expenses. That the previous travel expenses allocated in the 2020 be maintained at $2,791,487 for the 2021 fiscal year. Number 3, armed forces operation. Allowances be maintained at $295,374,976. Under armed forces operation also, their travel expenses be maintained at $12 million for the 2021 fiscal year as in the 2020 fiscal year.
A good number of the National Assembly members, including nominated member Majanko Samusa and Sekou Bajaju, the National Assembly member for the Busumbala constituency, supported the allocation.
I am proposing an increment which was as a result of the engagement the committee has with the Minister of Interior and the Armed Forces. In relation to the SSR, security sector reform, training is key in their process. So they requested for an addition of 2 million. So I am also proposing for the Assembly to consider.
Fatoumata Jawara, the National Assembly member for the Talinding Kunjang constituency, also supported the amount of money allocated for the Ministry of Defense. The argument was that the Defense Ministry, which is responsible of the state for the maintenance of peace, demands huge resources. However, some National Assembly members, including Alfuseni Sise, the NAM for Sami constituency, had a different opinion on the budgetary allocation for the Ministry of Defense. The police, they said, should be given a bigger share as their principal role is to protect life and property.
It's a very important sector, we know that. But there are so many sectors which they also need resources, like education. So,
Honorable Member,
so
please.
I think what they are giving is okay.
Saying, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you agree with it, that's okay.
Yes, what I'm saying, for me, the number, the amount is high. So if we can take something out of it, I am proposing 1 million instead of 1.5. I'm proposing 1.
The concerns for the budgetary allocation for the Defense Ministry were responded to by Mambu Njai, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs.
The only issue we have there is to centralize the rents, and Cora is the main body responsible. So we agreed with them. I don't know why they had to come back, that for uniformity and for control and monitoring, it should be moved to Cora.
Honorable Njai's intervention on the subject, however, convinced some National Assembly members to buy the idea that the Ministry of Defense deserved the budgetary allocation for the 2021 fiscal year. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Fatou Janembai.
The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, on Friday handed over IT equipment and 4 Toyota Hilux pickups estimated at $6 million to the Ministries of Agriculture and Health at Kwadangul in Banjul. Janke Toure has more on that story.
This is the latest gesture to the government of the Gambia by FAO through its EU-funded project. ICT equipment and 4 pickups were given to the Ministries of Agriculture and Health to boost food security and nutrition in the Gambia, and also help sensitize communities on consumption of macronutrient-rich and fortified foods.
The Food and Agriculture Organization exists because of the member states. They are the organization, and we are here to serve the Gambia like FAO serves in other countries. Today is a very important day. We are here to hand over equipment. The equipment that we will be handing over is sponsored and funded by the European Union. We have the privilege of implementing 2 projects that are fully supported by the EU. The 2 projects are Agriculture for Economic Development to address migration or mitigate migration, which is a key issue for consideration.
The European Union remains a principal supporter of efforts in the Gambia to address food and nutrition insecurity.
Receiving the items, the Minister of Agriculture, Ami Fabure, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Lamin Damfa, acknowledged the gesture from FAO, adding This will address and maintain an effective agricultural extension service across the food value chain.
The gift you gave out this morning, I think we are so grateful because this vehicle will help us at least to improve our extension delivery system. Because the two vehicles going to the Ministry of Agriculture, to agribusiness and the North Bank region, it will improve the extension service delivery. Because without proper vehicle, it will be difficult to reach the farmers.
All of us will agree that a society that is not food secure will be a society in crisis. I think food security is a #1 development pillar for any society to ensure that you are food secured. Then any contribution towards ensuring that the society is food secured is a very, very important contribution, and we value that very much. I think the donations for the Ministry of Health, that's the health promotion. I think we want to assure you these items will be put to good use.
Among the vehicles is the addition of a laptop and printer given to the Directorate of Health Promotion, the Department of Agriculture, Karawan Regional Agriculture Directorate, and the Department of Planning. The aim, according to donors, is to contribute towards government's objective to improve livelihoods and guaranteed food and nutrition security under the European Union pillars, improving food security and nutrition in the Gambia through food fortification and agriculture for economic growth, food security and nutrition to mitigate migration flows. For the news, I am Janke Ture.
The ecosystem-based adaptation project, in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and Education, are currently attending a 5-day workshop to develop a new syllabus on beekeeping, bushfire management, nursery tree management, and climate change for the University of the Gambia. The experts, drawn from different walks of life, are expected to come up with new study and research programs to be implemented at the Rural Development Institute and the National School of Forestry, leading to the university-level accredited certificates, diplomas, and degrees. Details in this report. The National School of Forestry and the Rural Development Institute are two key unaccredited institutes that build capacities of employees of the Forestry Department and various community development organizations. In order to acquire internationally recognized diplomas and bachelor's degree for the two learning institutions, the Environment Ministry has tasked the EBA, the Ecosystem-Based Adaptation Project, to collaborate with MOPSI, NACA, and UTG to develop a new curriculum on beekeeping, climate change, bushfire management, and tree nursery management to fit the standards of the UTG for students to pursue and attain bachelor's degree in these key areas.
Climate change and rural development, or for the climate change and sustainable development. We are looking at the broader context, having a degree in climate change and sustainable development. So as for the fire management, it can be a course within the degree program of forestry, BSc in forestry. So as a result, that's why we have the University of the Gambia. We invited MOPSI, we invited MOHAS, we invited NACA, because we first of all have to see how best, what are the modules or what are the courses that really needs to be in all these 4 key topic areas.
The Rural Development Institute principal, Alassane Minte, believes if his institution is accredited by NACA, it will be used as a benchmark for students to broaden their understanding of climate change related issues.
So we believe if the program is integrated into UTG, there are advantages for this city and RDI as a school, because one, we will be able to link RDI to the UTG so that our trainees, if they finish training at RDI, when they go to UTG for first degree, instead of spending 4 years there, maybe they spend lesser years to finish their program.
Fatou Bite and Karamba Sonko, both principal education officers, consider entrepreneurship backed by strong academic training in beekeeping and tree nursery planting as key tools to enhance their understanding of the nature of such businesses.
Because there are some academics that you need to know about the bee, how they process the bee. You need to study their colony very well so that at the end of the day, when you have your beekeeping company, you will be able to run it as it is expected.
University students should learn, in order to try to make it sustainable. They can take up a sort of an entrepreneurship, education and ideas, so that, you know, even without job, they can establish this as their own job and fare well in life.
Professor Siddharth Yatha of the UTG and Dr. Burama L.J. Jame, curriculum specialist at MOPSI, are expected to lead the development of the new curriculum.
So hopefully when we get this curriculum off the ground, we'll be able to train many Gambians who are interested in natural resource management, who are interested in climate change issues at the global level and at the national level as well.
What we are doing here, we are a bit of paradigm shift from the kind of bookish knowledge or academic knowledge. Because sometimes you teach students, they become job seekers. But what we are doing here, from the learning objectives to the content to the teaching learning method, we want independent learners. We want learners who can have their hand on deck. We want learners who will be job creators.
Chief Technical Advisor of the Ecosystem-Based Adaptation Project, Bubu Jallo, noted that capacity building is a key component in the EBA project and deems it necessary to build capacity of the lecturers of the RDI and National School of Forestry to lecture university-level courses.
And it will be necessary to even upgrade those lecturers who are there. Some of them are not qualified enough to teach at the university level. So the project is definitely here to build capacities of institutions and also people that are involved in the implementation of the ecosystem-based project.
With this training, the paradigm shift in the curriculum of tertiary institutions is expected to enhance learning models delivered by the RDI and National School of Forestry. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Cham. As part of activities commemorating World Standards Day 2020, the Gambia Standards Bureau on Friday held a day-long information sharing session with district chiefs and ward councillors at the Governor's office in Birkama, West Coast region. Now, the World Standards Day is celebrated internationally on the 14th of October annually. This year's commemoration is themed Protecting the Planet with Standards, and it seeks to address the negative impacts of human actions on Earth. Yusuf Bojang has the rest of that story.
The day has been set aside to pay tribute to the men and women all over the world who voluntarily develop standards for the advancement and welfare of societies. It also provides the opportunity to reflect on the benefits that standards provide to everyday life, market economy, environment, health and safety, and governance. Established by an Act of Parliament in 2010 to standardize systems, products and services produced or consumed in the country and to provide metrology, calibration and conformity assessment services such as testing and certification, among others. The Director General of the Gambia Standards Bureau, Seka, spoke at length on the importance of standard setting in promoting competition and enhancing consumer welfare, adding that standard setting is the process of determining a common set of characteristics for a good or service.
Improving the quality culture, which is one of the objectives of the Gambia Standards Bureau Act, which established us, is to actually promote the quality culture of the citizens, but also to promote the adoption and implementation of standards. We all know and we are aware that the government is very much interested and is doing a lot in its capacity to ensure that the health and the safety and security of the citizens are taken care of at all times, but at the same time safeguarding the environment as well, and has not left all of those responsibilities to chance.
He stressed the need to involve the relevant authorities to reach people at the grassroots level, while applauding the initiative of bringing local authorities together to discuss issues of standardization and conformity. The Director of Standardization, Ibrahim Jallo, noted that standards serves to harmonize global best practices, eliminating technical barriers to trade and fostering shared socio-economic advancement.
Standard that can tell you which oil is good and which one is not. We have standards that are also telling you for rice. In fact, currently, it's ongoing. We have 2 rice standards that are just completed and they are on the public commenting. If you can go to our website, www.tgsb.gm, you may have access and read through the standards and even make your comments if you have.
Deputizing the regional governor, Lamin D. Njai, said the implementation of standard in development programs is crucial to ensuring safety and improve livelihoods.
Standards is always something that the importance cannot be, overemphasized. We cannot make any meaningful development. We cannot make any meaningful strides in our aspirations to success in life without having proper standards in place. So the Standards Bureau is a very important organization, very important institution in our country, where standards are being regularized so that for the benefit of all.
Several speakers include Mamadou Doumbia, Standard Officer Building and Civil Engineering, Chief Lamin Dabo, Chief Jame Keke Bojang of Combo Central, Councilors Aliu Dabo, Lamin Jaju, Ismaila Jaju, Fatu Jallo, all spoke on the importance of the forum, especially for local authorities, while stressing the need for enforcement of the Act. Yusuf Bojang, GRTS News.
The National Coordinating Organization for Farmer Association, The Gambia, recently donated $600,000 to a dozen of its federation members for sustainability. Louis Mendy reports this is one major activity the membership-based organization has championed to support its federations.
Financial support to 12 federation members of the National Coordinating Organization for Farmer Association, The Gambia, is to help them sustain their viability. The federation members of the association include the fisherfolk, farmers, food processors, and livestock owners. Aliu Sow is the coordinator at the association.
NACOFA has 16 federation members as of the last Congress, and as a result of that, out of these 16, 12 has been nominated and will be supported to undertake institutional support and strengthening on three aspects. One of them is to look at their artisanal and semi-industrial situation at organizational level, while the second one will look at women restoration and support in strengthening the women participation in farmers' organization. And the third support will look at knowledge management and exchanges that will also be supported to 4 of the member organizations who will also benefit financial report and also technical support to carry out this task.
Musa Sow, the president of NACOFAG, said the membership-based organization can only support its members financially and technically.
We have distributed $480,000 to the members. This is also different from the other logistics of that we've also we use money to at least support people to come for the board meeting too. So in total, we are talking about $600,000. We have our quarterly meetings. We have our capacity building program that are also ongoing. We have seeds and cereal banks that we also support as certified seeds. In totality, it comprises a lot of things. It's not only this fiscal cash that is given, and like I said, this is the first phase of the cash disbursement. We hope to do the next second one shortly.
One of the 12 federations of the NACOFAG who benefited from the cash donation is the National Women Farmers Association. Njaga Jao is the executive director there.
I think this is a very wonderful move. As a member of the association, we are very highly appreciative of the effort that NACOFA have done to respond to support the membership base. And we want to ensure that the money given to NACOFA in particular will be fully utilized and for its actual purpose.
Kadi Bojan Sedi, the agriculture director for West Coast region, was pleased with NACOFAG for the assistance to farmers.
I'm very happy, extremely happy for that matter, because this is a step in the right direction. Because if you look at the beneficiaries today, government cannot do all, but we need a complement like what NACOFA is doing today. That's why I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud to be part of this association. We need to empower women.
The hope is that beneficiaries of the cash donation will use the package judiciously. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
We'll take our first break now. Sports news is up next. Welcome back to the news. The Gambia has booked a place in Sunday's finals in the WAFU Under-20 Championship after beating Guinea 2-1 at the Stade La Dior. The young Scorpions took the lead from Karafa Kamara's own goal, which was cancelled by Abdurrahman Ba's powerful header. The Guinean striker then won a penalty but missed the resulting spot kick, which was brilliantly saved by the Gambian goalkeeper. Kajali Kamara scored the Gambia's second goal, which earned Matar Mboj's side a hard-fought 2-1 victory and a place in Sunday's final. The Gambia will now play Senegal on Sunday. We will now go from outside the Gambia. It's up next. Welcome back. We start the internationals in Zimbabwe, where search and rescue operations have been underway for around 40 miners trapped underground at a mine in Bundura town. The town is located some 70 kilometers from the capital Harare. 6 miners have been pulled out of the mine after it collapsed on Wednesday. The Ministry of Mines has mobilized its engineering department and equipment from large mining companies to carry out the search. Rescue efforts are being slowed down by underground water and disrupted by other miners attempting to get into the shaft. Mining associations are engaging government to help curb such incidents. 2 other incidents of trapped miners have been reported during November alone. In Ethiopia, Prime Minister Ahmed Abiy has announced a final offensive in Tigray to capture the regional capital Mekelle. In the UN Refugee Agency reports that over 40,000 Ethiopians have crossed into neighboring Sudan to seek shelter. In a remote part of Sudan, one camp is already over capacity. A Mokoba camp was meant to house 5,000 refugees, but has almost doubled that capacity. More refugees are arriving daily from across the border, fleeing a military offensive in Tigray that began on November 4th. The UN estimates that up to 200,000 people could arrive in the next months and has warned of a looming humanitarian crisis. Moving on, supporters of Burkina Faso President Roch Kabore have been celebrating his election victory. The incumbent was provisionally declared winner of the 22nd November elections on Thursday. According to the Elections Commission, Kabore garnered 58% of the vote, whilst his closest rivals got about 12% and 15% respectively.
These have been the scenes across Burkina Faso as news spread that the incumbent Roch Kabore has won re-election.
Après cette proclamation,
Mr. Kabore Roch Christian Mark, with 57.87% of the votes, is provisionally declared elected after the first round as President of Burkina Faso in the 22nd November election.
Now, a quick recap of our top stories before we take leave of you. Health Minister Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate has updated the public on the COVID-19 situation in the Gambia and the outbreak of an infectious disease in Senegal. Residents of Kiang in the Lower River region are preparing for the offshoot of the first ever electricity-generated light. Information Minister Ibrahim Silla has updated the public on key sectorial development projects, including the Health Minister's National Health Insurance Scheme. The Gambia has booked a place in Sunday's WAFU Cup finals after defeating Guinea 2-1 at Stade La Dior in Senegal. They will face Senegal on Sunday in the finals. Prime Minister Ahmed Abiy has announced a final offensive in Tigray to capture the regional capital, Mekelle. And in Zimbabwe, search and rescue operations are underway for around 40 miners trapped underground at a mine in Bundura town. That was all we had in this edition of GRTS News. Many pleasure for your company. Please enjoy the rest of our programs.